name of the movie is Alone. The film begins with Jessica moving her belongings in a trailer hitched to a car, and then she drives the car, and we discover that she is moving to another city. Her trip to the new city takes 4 days, but she continues on her journey until something strange happens. A black car was walking slowly in front of her, and she was trying to overtake it. But it was very difficult. When you try to pass the black car starts walking fast. Jessica was driving her car on the opposite road, and in front of her was a truck that was about to crash into her. She increased the speed of the car because she was afraid, and indeed she was able to pass the black car. She was surprised by what the owner of the black car had done, but she did not care and continued on her way. After that, she went to the gas station, and she took advantage of the opportunity to call her father and tell him that she was on her way to her new home. He was unhappy to hear this, since he had already told her that he would come to her the next day to help her. She told him that she moved out on her own because she didn't want to meet her mother. On the call to her father, she sees the same black car that was on the highway. She begins to worry and feels that someone is watching her. But she also didn't care about that and went to a hotel to rest and continue her way tomorrow. After that, her mother calls her, but she does not answer. After that, she is watching a picture of her with someone and she is crying and affected, but we also do not know why. Then she falls asleep, and the next day she wakes up and goes to her car, but she finds the same black car in front of her. But this time the car driver comes to her and apologizes to her himself. It was a bit strange as he kept asking Jessica where she was going and where she came from, but she was afraid of him, so she stopped talking to him and left him and went to continue her way. After that we see the same car driver standing in the road and repairing his car. Then he comes to Jessica and tells her that his car broke down and asks her to help him to park the car on the side of the road because his arm is injured and he cannot do it alone. He also asked her to take him with her to the nearest gas station to find someone to fix his car. He was a stranger and would show up to her every once in a while, so she started to worry. Because of that, she apologized to him and told him that she was in a hurry and could not help him and go. She continues to drive and was worried until it got dark. After that she parks her car and sits down to rest and tries to call her mother. Her mother was angry with her because she left without telling anyone. They continue talking, and we discover that Jessica's husband died 6 months ago, and he is the same person whose picture you were seeing in the hotel. Her mother wanted her to stay in the city so that her friends and family could help her get through this difficult phase of her life. But Jessica was adamant about what she had done and said moving was better for her. While talking to her mother, she sees the same black car parked in the same place where she is. She begins to worry and decides to get in her car to leave. The strange man comes to her and tries to talk to her, but she starts the car and runs away. She continues driving until the trailer is going left and right and she can't control the car. Finally, she managed to park the car. She got out of the car and discovered that the trailer tire had been cut by a knife, and because of that she could not drive. Then as she sees the trailer tire, the black car comes. She gets scared and pulls the trailer off the car and tries to start the car to escape. Unfortunately, she could not, because the strange man came to her and broke the car's glass, entered the car and injected her with an anesthetic, and she lost consciousness. The next day she wakes up and finds herself in a basement. She gets scared and tries to open the door to escape, but unfortunately, she couldn't. She stayed in the cellar all day until night fell. Then this man comes to her, and she asks him why he kidnapped her. She told him she would give him money or whatever he wanted just to leave her, but he was not interested in what she said, and he only asked her for one thing, which was to assault her. She was afraid and decided to agree and allow him to do so, but she asked to go to the bathroom first. He agrees and takes her to the bathroom. She tried to hit him to get away, but with ease he beat her and controlled her. Then he brings Jessica's tablet and plays a video of her with her husband and asks her to tell him about this man. She tells him that this man is her husband, but he died 6 months ago. He asked her how he died, and she told him that he had shot himself. He laughs and mocks her and then leaves her in the basement and goes. The next day, she continues her attempts to open the cellar door, and indeed she was finally able to open the door. But before she can escape, she finds the strange man and quickly flees to a room to hide in. This man enters the house, and she continues to watch him. She watches him calmly prepare breakfast for himself. After that, he calls his wife and children and tells them that he is at work now and will come in 2 days. Then he hung up and took a knife and started moving towards the basement. She tried to take advantage of the situation when he went to the basement and ran away from the house. She found herself in the woods because the house is in the woods, but she wasn't interested and kept running. Unfortunately, this man walked out of the house and started following her. But Jessica, while running, gets injured, but she resists and continues on her way in the forest until she reaches the river. She was reluctant to throw herself into the river. While thinking, she finds that the man has reached her, so she had no choice but to throw herself into the river. She continues to swim until she reaches a place on land, and she continues to walk in the woods. She was in pain from her foot injury, but she resisted and continued walking. She heard the sound of movement near her, and she feared that it was the same man chasing her. So, she hid behind a tree while holding a stick. She hears the footsteps approaching her. Without thinking, she hits that guy, but it wasn't the same man who was chasing her. It was an old man named Robert, and he was in the woods to hunt, so he had a gun with him. He gets worried and points his gun at her and asks her for her identity. She tells him everything that happened to her and the strange man who is stalking her. He believed her and decided to help her. He gives her the phone to inform the police. Unfortunately, the phone broke down because when Jessica hit the man, she accidentally broke the phone. But despite that, he decided to help her and took her with him in his car. On their way out of the woods, they see a tree stump on the road. She worries and feels that the strange man did it. She tries to lift the tree trunk but fails. After a short while, the stranger arrives in his car. He talks to Robert and tells him that he is Jessica's brother and that she is going through a difficult psychological state because of her husband's death. He tells him that she thinks he is stalking her. He told him that he was her brother and wanted to bring her home. Unfortunately, Robert believed this man's words and was about to let her go with him, but she told him that he was lying, and if his words were true, you should take the phone from him and call the police to confirm what he said. Robert is convinced of what she said and asks to take this strange man's phone. She takes advantage of the opportunity and flees. The strange man gives the phone to Robert, but suddenly he attacks and beats him, and then takes his weapon and kills Robert. Then he walks through the woods to look for Jessica until night falls. Then he finds her and shoots her in the shoulder, but she resisted and hid somewhere. At night, he keeps talking to himself as if he were talking to her. He starts teasing her and tells her that her husband is a coward and she is a coward too. But she didn't get angry and didn't try to get out. She let him talk to himself without doing anything to get him to leave. She continues to hide in her place until the next day, when she did not find any trace of the stranger. She started walking, hoping to escape from the woods. But while she was walking, she saw that the strange man came in his car while she was hiding. She watches what he does, so she watches him move Robert's body and bury him. She tried to use the opportunity to take his car and escape with it, but unfortunately, she did not find the car key. Then she tries to search for his phone in order to call the police, and indeed she takes the phone and hides in the car. Then the strange man comes and gets in the car and drives it. Not knowing that she is in the car, she is trying to call the police in a very low voice so that the man cannot hear her. Unfortunately, even the police were unable to hear her. Then she takes courage and takes a screwdriver and hits this strange man. He tries to hit her with the knife, but she takes the knife and stabs him in the arm. So he couldn't control the car. She gets out of the car without any injury and tries to get away from the car. After that, she calls this man's wife and tells her about the truth about her husband, and that he is not at work, but rather he is a murderer, and he killed a person named Robert while he was trying to kill her. Then you see the strange man trying to attack her. They fight until Jessica finally manages to stab him in the stomach, killing him. Finally, after a long and terrifying journey, she finally rests and is waiting for the police and emergency services to get her out of the jungle. If you want interesting movie recaps like these, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.